As the CEO of one of the most successful timeshare services in the world, Diamond Resorts International, Stephen J. Kuhlbeck got on the show Undercover Boss and lit up the whole episode, to say the least.
Come on, guys. How can we make this mistake?
It's because of the policy side.
What policy?
He became one of the most memorable people featured on the show, but doing amazing things for his good employees, and even coming back for a second episode, which is rare on the show. But behind the scenes, Stephen and Diamond Resorts weren't as clean and generous as portrayed on the show. The company and Stephen were caught doing some shady deals that essentially stole money from their customers and even went all the way up to giving money to senators to allegedly have favorable policies for him and his company. This is the truth that Stephen tried to hide from the public, but he was too late.
Workers at 3 hotels have filed a class action lawsuit against the hotel's owner and operator, Diamond Resorts, alleging wage theft.
We're going to have a deep dive into his episodes, business, and the ultimate lawsuit that exposed Stephen and his company for their not-so-open business operations. Stephen was born on October 26, 1961, and grew up in Encino, California. He grew up in a middle-class family and was encouraged by his father to work hard and make his own way in the world. In his early life, he became obsessed with working out and was even a bodybuilder in his teenage years. He later went to college and graduated from Brandeis University with a degree in psychobiology in 1983. Stephen was always convinced that he wanted to be a doctor, but as soon as he got out of college, he noticed that being a doctor would limit the amount of money that he wanted to earn, and he wanted to earn lots of money. He quickly went into the development business and was building shopping centers. This made him quite successful and was a millionaire from that business. But soon, in late 2006, he found a failing business company called Sunterra Corporation. He saw hidden potential there and put up over $5 million of his own money to purchase the company and change it to Diamond Resorts. It is a company that sold vacation time shares, and we'll look into them a little later. He became very wealthy with this company and made his vision a success. This company is one that sells timeshares. A timeshare is like buying a slice of a vacation property, just like this pizza. Instead of owning the whole thing, you own a slice. Or in this case, a portion of the property for a certain amount of time each year. Now, you're not eating pizza all year long, right? That would be a bit much. Similarly, you don't live in your timeshare all year. Usually you get 1 week per year. Just like a pizza, timeshares come in different styles. A fixed week model, where you get certain pre-picked weeks in a year, or the floating week model, where you can pick whichever weeks are available. But the tricky part about timeshares is that you have to share the same property with others, and that can make for a hectic tug of war between each other for the perfect vacation weeks. Even though you're only staying a few weeks, you still have to pay for maintenance fees, taxes, and other costs you'll share with the other owners. And when you're done with the property, it becomes an even greater hassle just to sell it. But we'll get to that part later in the video. Stephen had a taste for models and even married one of them. Chantal was his first wife and was the one featured during his time on the show. But they didn't make it long and later were divorced. But soon after, Stephen met another model named Stephanie Grzanski. She is an OnlyFans model, but she conveniently didn't tell Stephen about the OnlyFans part, so he only assumed that she was just a model. They dated for 5 months until he discovered her page and that she's been taking pictures for her content in his house. This didn't sit well with him, and he didn't just break up with her. Kuhlbeck sued Grzanski on January 7th in state court in Los Angeles for a variety of offenses, including fraud and trespassing. After 4 years of success with his new company, Stephen saw the marketing opportunity that TV would have for him and decided to join the cast of the popular reality TV show Undercover Boss, where employers and managers disguise themselves as other people and see what happens in their companies when they're not around. He was featured on the pilot episode for the show's 3rd season, and the showrunners picked his episode to go first, for a reason. Stephen's episode was a very explosive one, and started off with him explaining where he came from and what he aspired to be in the hospitality business. He would go undercover as Jack Fisher, a man who wants to start out in the hospitality industry. He flies over to his novation, and he even took his security guard with him. They made it to a hotel suite that is to Stephen's liking, and the next day, it was time to start the show. He goes over to the job and meets Randy, the resort engineer. They meet up at the back room, where Randy is trying to fix the air conditioning, which is something that Steven knows nothing about. They took the equipment over to the roof, and it's clear that Steven has no idea what's going on. The valve needed replacing, so Randy and Steven went through the steps to replace the pipes. And just when they were starting, Steven lets go of the pliers and the pipe explodes right there.
You don't see any flames, do you? No flame. Good. Hot though. Here we go. Fire. Oh my God.
Thankfully, Randy took control, but Steven panicked and grabbed the fire extinguisher. In the process, Steven broke the lining, so they needed to replace them. But Randy didn't give him a hard time for messing up. Randy was enjoying the hilarity of Steven being absolutely useless in the basics of the jobs he's meant to do. While they were working on changing the light fixtures, Steven learns about how Randy lost his business from another state and lost his retirement plan in the process, meaning that he now needs to work here and also have a second job at UPS, and even has his wife working 2 jobs just to make a living at an age when they were both supposed to be retired and enjoying their time after decades of hard work. This made Steven and Randy have a bit of a bond while they worked in that bathroom.
And I've had business deals that have gone bad, so I have empathy for him.
Move on.
You know, we're collectively a team, and it's my responsibility to worry about all these team members.
Steven later moved to the call center, where reservations are made for customers who have bought timeshares. He meets with Sarah, who works as a booking agent and will be giving him some training. She was telling him about her plans to hopefully be promoted into the corporate side of the company when they get a call, and Steven listens in as she talks to the customer. As she was talking, Steven notices that she didn't refer the callers to buy more points and wasn't checking their points in time. After listening to her handle customers in a subpar standard, Steven couldn't handle watching her lose clients over and over because she didn't understand the system. He watches for a little bit, exposes himself to her as the CEO, and tells her that she needs more training. An angry Steven goes over to Tori, the call center manager, and screams at her for not giving the staff enough training and storms out.
Get me out of here.
He moves over to another of his locations in Williamsburg and starts work in a unit. It's clear that he's not exactly good with his hands and was given some help by his trainer, Greg, and notices that they don't have the proper safety equipment. They find a bad leak and start work and see that there aren't enough people to handle these hundreds of units. Steven realizes that things are tough and they need more people to handle these jobs. In this branch, he would be working at the front desk. He meets Amanda and is introduced to his workspace, but then sees his own picture on the wall and gets nervous to not get discovered by anyone. He notices that the systems they use for checking people in and out are very old, and they desperately need an upgrade. As they sit down and talk about their lives, he learns that she wants to move to Ireland, but she has an ill mother, so she can't move away from her house now. They get back to work and meet some people checking in, and learn that sometimes the company overbooks the rooms, and guests come in to find that their reserved rooms have already been taken. After learning about his employees and their daily struggles, he later invites all of them to his beach house for a conversation that they weren't aware of. He then shows up behind them and introduces himself as the chairman and CEO of the resort. He tells Greg that he will be upgrading all his equipment and adding more staff so that Greg doesn't get burned out so often. But then he offers Greg another opportunity, getting him lots of meat for his cooking and a large fridge to store it all in. He even buys him a new truck to make his commute easier. Not only that, he gives him a $20,000 bonus, which made Greg very grateful. Sarah was up next, and he apologizes for losing his cool on her at her job and tells her that he will be giving everyone personal training on how to handle calls and throws in an all-expense paid vacation to Hawaii. He also will be paying off her business school debts that is going to be a huge relief for a young woman trying to start her career. Amanda was appreciated for her care with the customers and showing him that their overbooking strategy wasn't going as well as they all hoped. He then offers her a job in Ireland, which she loves, but he also gives her an even bigger gift, $50,000 to use for the medical bills for her mother. And finally, Randy, who almost got Steven to burn down a building. They had a wonderful time together, and Steven wanted to do something special for him, so he gave him $150,000 to pay off the mortgage on his house. He also gives him $50,000 in cash, which he deeply appreciates so much.
You taught me so much. And I'm going to give you $50,000 in cash.
That he called his wife right there to tell her about these gifts. But this wouldn't be Steven's last time on Undercover Boss. He would be the first person to be invited back on the show, and he jumped at the chance to put on those crazy makeups and prosthetics one more time. Safe to say things popped off on this episode too, and he gets very rowdy.
On today's episode of Undercover Boss, the president and CEO of ABM Industries, a huge company that maintains and services office buildings and airports all over America, goes undercover. This boss will trade in his mansion and private tennis courts for rolls of toilet paper and a mop. By working in the front lines, he'll discover what his employees really think about his company.
Because I like working with ABM. They took care of me, and when ABM called me, I said, that's my people.
And he'll also discover the unsung heroes that make his business run. And how will his workers react when they find out the truth about his identity?
How you doing? I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Now you were joking around with me.
Oh my God.
Stay tuned to find out. Headquartered in New York, ABM Industries is America's #1 provider of building maintenance and facility services, including janitorial, parking, security, and engineering. At the head of this $3.6 billion company is President and CEO Heinrich Slipsiger.
I'm Heinrich Slipsiger. I'm President and CEO of ABM Industries.
ATM stands for America Building and Maintenance, and it was started more than 100 years ago as a window cleaning company. Heinrich grew up in Denmark, and he was a very rebellious child and didn't agree with his father at anything. So when he left Denmark, he came to America when he was 17 years old, and he had nothing when he got there, so he worked his ass off and got the CEO position when he was only 33 years old. In their line of business, their success is solely dependent on the quality of people that they have, and the main reason he wants to go undercover is to be able to find good employees and create good opportunities so they stay with them for a long time. Because if they have more permanent employees that stay for long, the more success that they will have. Heinrich will be going undercover as Edward, an out-of-work immigrant from Holland coming to America to try to get into the service business. His employees will be told that they're judging his performance, which will help determine which job he gets. For his first job, he travels to Tampa, Florida to work as an airport shuttle driver, and he arrives at the job 4:30 in the morning to meet with Kenny, who gives him his uniform, and they pick up departing customers.
Today we'll focus on how we interface with customers and if our people are as customer focused and customer interested as I hope they are.
While together, Heinrich sees Kenny likes to follow the rules and also follow the company's guidelines, which makes him very happy. He also sees that Kenny is very diligent and serves the customers well. He asks him how long he's been working there, and Kenny answers that he joined the company 4 years ago.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been here almost 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
He's also been working the early shift and going to school after, and he tells him that his goal is to become a firefighter one day. After learning from Kenny, Heinrich takes on the wheel next and does terribly, and he doesn't follow the rules.
I'm gonna tell you, you broke all the rules, man.
Why you break all the rules?
You're not moving fast enough. You gotta move faster.
And he was also too slow to take the customer's baggage, and he even accidentally cusses.
Going from...
You can't cuss, man. Everybody in the airport is hearing you. You cannot cuss.
Kenny is forced to take back control and tells Heinrich that he's not doing a good job, so he doesn't recommend someone like him for that job.
So, he's probably looking for somebody different.
All right.
Heinrich is a little disappointed, but knows that he isn't good enough for the job and is glad a person like Kenny is doing it. The next day he travels to Chicago, Illinois to work as a commercial window washer, and he meets up with Peter, and they get to the top of the building to set up the scaffolding, but Heinrich was incredibly scared of heights and he gets really nervous.
I have a fear of heights.
Then wash some windows later on.
It is my hope that I'm going to wash windows from the inside and not from the outside.
While setting up the scaffolding, Heinrich learns that Peter is also an immigrant from Poland, and he learns that Peter has a son who's disabled. His wife and him both work so they can provide treatment to their son, who needs to go to Europe for the treatment, and lately they've been struggling very hard to even pay the plane tickets, and they might just have to go back to Europe to save on that.
To Europe is like $1,700 to Europe and back. It's too much. It's, never-ending story.
They go back to work and start going up the scaffolding, and Heinrich was trying to keep his cool, but when the scaffolding moves, he gets extremely scared and starts shaking.
He was really shaking already. I could see his legs are shaking.
Peter notices this and brings down the scaffolding, and once again, Heinrich has failed to do his job. But his main concern is losing another great worker, and he plans to do something about it. For his next job, he travels to New York City to work in 7 World Trade Center, which is the first building to be rebuilt after the 9/11 attacks. He meets up with the janitor Maria, who gets him right into the job. They start by replacing toilet papers and cleaning windows, and they clean up the dishes in the bathrooms. As they clean out the windows, they see buildings getting rebuilt after the 9/11 attacks, and she tells them that she lost her nephew that day, who was working for ABM at the time.
I lost my nephew there. He was 27. That's just not right. Every time I look at this grind site, you always think.
The World Trade Center was the largest job site for ABM, and they lost 17 employees, and more were injured at the day of the attack. For his last job, he is asked to see an employee who was actually a survivor of the attack, and he meets up with freight elevator operator Larry, who takes him into the elevator and teaches him how to operate it. He learns that Larry has been working for the company for 26 years, and he grew from the bottom but stopped when he got a stroke, which prevented him from working more intensive jobs.
Why was it you stopped being foreman? Was that
Because I had a stroke. And I'm the type, I'm the type of guy who wants to do the job all the way.
Larry also recounts the day when the attack happened and says that he just got in from cleaning the sidewalk, and after the plane hit, he says that there were people jumping out of the building because there was no way out and they didn't want to stay inside because it was better than being burnt alive.
Let me tell you something. Right there, people was jumping.
Oh my God.
But there was no way out of there.
And finally, Heinrich's undercover time has now come to an end. He's met great employees, but is in the risk of losing them, and he plans to do something about it. And so he invites his employees to his office to reveal his true identity.
Henrik Slipsager, I'm president and CEO of ABM Industries.
First in was Maria, and he tells her that she worked his ass off and that he was impressed by her work ethic. He offers her a promotion and tells her that ABM is going to donate $25,000 to a 9/11 fund in the name of her nephew.
Could never in a million years expected this, that it's gonna happen to me today. I had the greatest experience of my life. I could really break down and cry like a baby.
Next in was Larry, and he tells him that he was inspired to gather the survivors for a reunion who are now dispersed working in other locations. He then offers him a fully paid vacation for him and his family.
So here's what I'd like to do for you. I would like to send you guys on a little trip of your choosing.
After that, it was Kenny's turn, and he tells him that he loved the way he worked and followed the rules, and he then tells him that he wants him to stay at ABM, so he offers him a management training so Kenny could get a better paying job, and he also offers to pay his tuition in full for his school.
It's surprised, shocked, everything all in one. You know, everything just...
Last in was Peter, and he tells him that he was happy to see how safety conscious he was, and offers him a position in the company's safety council, and then offers to send him and his family to Europe to fully pay for his son's treatment.
I would like to send you and your family on an all expenses paid trip for a month for your son to go through this intensive therapy treatment.
Sometime later, he invites his employees to share his time undercover and thanks his employees for their hard work. In the weeks since, Maria is enjoying her promotion and her new uniform, Larry and his wife are going to Hawaii for their anniversary, Kenny is changing his major to business and moves up further with an IBM, and lastly, Peter's son is able to get the treatment that he needs. And that is it for today's episode of Undercover Boss.
My name is Steve Klubeck. I'm gonna go see your supervisor, and I'm gonna find out what's going on here at this call center.
Marcus.
Hi.
Here to learn
You're
some
the
things.
contestant?
Yeah, I'm here to learn some things from you.
All right.
The episode got great reviews, and Steven became popular across the nation, so he was invited to do another episode on the 4th episode. This time, he will be going through some of his newer properties, and he will definitely be up to his usual no-nonsense self. The company has grown to more properties and countries since the last episode aired, and now Steven will be going back undercover to see his new acquired property, Pacific Monarch Resorts. Steven didn't like his look on the last episode, so now he's in charge of his own look. So he gets a stylist and even gets his ears pierced and gets new teeth, just to look different. He will be posing as Mark, someone who's in a fake reality show to win prize money for his business by impressing investors while he works in this resort. Steven likes this resort, and he will actually be posing as a guest while wearing custom glasses that have tiny cameras in them. He gets into his room and immediately sees that things need work. Everything is dirty and not up to their standards. He calls housekeeping, and RK shows up to find a ticked-off Steven, asking about the dirty kitchen appliances and the room being subpar. Steven then learns that the management haven't been paying enough attention to the maintenance of the rooms, despite the housekeeping staff constantly reminding them that it needs lots of work. Steven likes the way RK handles his customers and even talks to him about going into hotel management himself. He has a daughter, so he can't stop working and go to school since he needs to take care of her. RK even comes back with some towels, and that's when Steven sits him down and reveals that he's on Undercover Boss and how much he appreciates his truthfulness and honesty with his customers. And now he has great first-hand information to help fix his new properties. He then offers to pay for RK to go to hotel management school for 4 years on his dime and an extra $25,000 for daycare and a trust fund for his daughter to go to school when she grows up. Steven walks away with an understanding of all the work that needs to be done on these new resorts that he acquired. He will be working as an activities coordinator, the person in charge of everyone having a good time. He meets Monique, the current activities coordinator, who gets him to dance, which he absolutely hates. She gets him to move a little bit, but he asks her more about her job and the guests, and she mentions how the uniforms here are terrible and that they need a redesign. He learns that she wants to be a stylist, but it's now time to let the guests in and dance, which he is tearing at, and she leaves him to lead them, and he can barely move. And the guests are the ones leading the dance themselves, and everyone has a good time in the end, despite Steven not doing much dancing. Steven then goes off to do some maintenance work in the resort and meets with Marcus, the maintenance tech. They go up to the guest rooms and check everything from the refrigerator to the blinds and the TVs. This shows Steven that everything needs work here. They then get an emergency call to fix a leaky faucet. Marcus then gives Steven to take care of the faucet and leaves him there. Steven was fighting with the faucet and pulled it apart, breaking it. Marcus comes back to find it destroyed, and he sees what Steven did and appreciates the hardcore way that he did it. Later, as they work on some electrical things, Marcus tells Steven that he had a dream of owning an electrical maintenance shop, but things didn't work out for him. Steven likes Marcus because he has a very hard-working attitude and has overcome some bad things in his life just to get here. Marcus doesn't like the way things are being run here. The strategy of getting by on the absolute minimum isn't a good strategy, and Steven sees that this is something that they need to be fixing.
Why would we paint them without sanding them?
That's what they want us to do.
I just, I wouldn't agree.
Steven then goes to the Mexico branch of his new properties, and he wants to make sure that the spa is the best one in the area. He meets with Veronica, who wants to show him how to blow dry hair. He washes a customer's hair and later uses a comb, but he ends up hurting the lady. So Veronica gives him another task, which he ruins by basically burning the lady's head with the blow dry. After getting done with the customer, Veronica tells him about her baby daughter who needs medical operations because she has 2 hernias due to her being born premature. Veronica and her husband are both working 2 jobs just to save up enough money to get their daughter the surgery that she needs. In his previous experience working at reception, he saw that things aren't so great, and he hopes that it's not as messy here too. He meets Stephanie, who works at the front desk. She shows him Carolina, who he'll be working with. He sees the filing and that they keep the credit card numbers, which is actually illegal, but it came with management. He then learns something that upsets him more. She informs him that, despite Diamond Resorts owning this property, it is listed under a different company, and he is pissed. The people who work there don't know the company they're working for. He then learns that the workers have been tricking the customers to not give them discounts, and that upsets him so much that he breaks his character again and tells everyone that they need to get more training and that management needs to get more hands-on with their staff.
Give me the card. This is insane.
I apologize. Not my style. Not my style.
He even offers to pay for one of the workers' family weddings, making her cry out of joy. Stephanie is not at fault here, and he acknowledges that just throwing money at a new project is not enough to take it up to the standard that he wants it to be. Now that it's time to tell the employees who they've been working with recently, he sits down with them and talks to them one by one. Marcus was the first one to get suspicious about Steven being Mark, so he tells everyone who he actually is, and everyone is surprised. Monique was up first, and he gives her the opportunity to design the new uniforms, but he sent her to fashion school before that on his dime. Next up is Marcus, who remembers how he broke the sink. They talk about the business plan that Marcus wants to build just like his father. Steven then offers to put up $100,000 for 10% of Marcus's new electrical works company. Marcus now gets a second chance at reopening his business. Finally, there's Veronica, who taught him how to do hair. Steven is going to pay for her daughter's surgery, and he will take care of the bill, and he even buys her a car, and even gives her 1.3 million Mexican pesos to buy a house for her and her family. An emotional Veronica wasn't done thanking Steven when her family showed up, and she told her husband the good news. Steven's takeaway from his experience from his time at Undercover Boss is that his employees need to be taken care of just as much as his customers. This is why he set up an employee crisis fund to help with everything that might be an emergency to them. But the good businessman Steven is trying to look like here is a lot farther from the truth. He is hiding something dark and mischievous in his business practices that even led him and Diamond Resorts International to be sued multiple times.
Claims that workers at the hotels did not receive paychecks in a timely manner, violating state law.
But things aren't as sunshine and rainbows behind the scenes for Steven and Diamond Resorts International. Diamond Resorts International, one of the largest timeshare companies in the world, has faced multiple lawsuits from its customers over the years. These lawsuits often stem from claims of deceptive sales practices, misleading marketing, and difficulties in exiting timeshare contracts. Here's a breakdown of some key issues and legal battles that Diamond Resorts has faced. Many lawsuits against Diamond Resorts allege that the company used high-pressure sales tactics to lure customers into purchasing timeshares. Customers claim that sales presentations often lasted hours, and the information provided was sometimes misleading. For instance, some buyers were promised flexibility in vacation dates and locations, but later discovered that booking was often difficult due to availability issues. Several lawsuits have been filed by customers who found it nearly impossible to exit their timeshare agreements. Diamond Resorts contracts are known for being complex, with strict terms that make it difficult for owners to sell, transfer, or exit their timeshare. Many customers have alleged that they were not fully informed about the long-term financial commitments, such as rising maintenance fees and special assessments. Diamond Resorts has also been criticized for its handling of exit programs. Some customers who sought to sell or exit their timeshares were directed to third-party companies, which sometimes turned out to be fraudulent. Additionally, customers claim that Diamond Resorts actively works to block resale efforts, making it difficult for owners to offload their timeshares through secondary markets. There have been several class action lawsuits filed against Diamond Resorts. In 2020, a notable class action lawsuit was filed in California, where plaintiffs accused Diamond Resorts of fraudulent business practices, including misrepresentation and unfair competition. The lawsuit alleged that the company's sales team misled customers about the true costs of ownership and the availability of properties. Diamond Resorts has settled some lawsuits out of court, like agreeing to pay $800,000 to refund customers after agreeing terms with the state of Arizona. But the details of many of these settlements are confidential. Settlements often involve compensating customers or allowing them to exit their timeshare agreements without further financial obligations. However, the company has also fought back against some of these claims, arguing that its sales practices are transparent and that customers were informed about the terms of their agreements. Diamond Resorts' legal troubles have shed light on broader issues within the timeshare industry. Many other timeshare companies have faced similar lawsuits, and consumer protection agencies have become more involved in regulating timeshare practices. In response to the growing backlash, Diamond Resorts has made some efforts to improve its transparency and customer service, but the legal challenges continue. That's not all. Steven has been one of the most prominent donors to political causes in his state and to the Democratic Party. And this isn't out of the goodness of his heart either. There are some shady dealings going on behind the scenes. He is heavily against the recent push to heavily tax the wealthy in the country, and he is doing everything in his power to stop it. By being a prominent donor, he is in a position to influence these politicians by refusing to give them his money if they support the bill to heavily tax him and his fellow billionaires. So, there you have it, folks. Despite Steven trying to show everyone how compassionate and in touch he is with the common man, he is trying to undercut the people using his money and shady tactics behind the scenes. Thank you for watching, and tell us your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more videos like this one.